Continue to watch the fallout from 1 week ago today. It was 1 week ago today when Renee Good was killed by an ICE agent in Minneapolis, and we've seen a lot of the fallout since. And as these immigration enforcement operations continue to grow across the Twin Cities, it's affecting communities you might not think of right away. The Oglala Sioux tribe says 4 of its members were detained by federal officials back on January 8th, and one they say has been released. But tribe attorneys have been told that there are still 3 in custody at the ICE detention center at Fort Snelling. Joining me now is Ruth Buffalo, CEO of the Minnesota Indigenous Women's Resource Center. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, Dosha, hello, and Madzigidads, thank you for the invite.
I don't know how much you personally know, but I have to ask, just given kind of the news of these 4 men, what have you been told about what happened, initially and then the arrest? What can you tell us?
We have received reports that a total of 5 Native men, tribal citizens, tribal members, and descendants have been wrongfully detained by ICE federal agents, 4 from the same tribe, which is the Oglala Sioux tribe, and 1 a descendant of Red Lake Nation.
Okay, do you know anything more about, sorry to put you on the spot, I know we want to talk about some other things here, but just on the news of this, do you know anything else about, where they are right now? Have they had a chance, the one who's been released, I guess, had a chance to communicate at all about what he sort of went through in the last couple of days?
Yes, the Red Lake Nation descendant has been released and is with family and seeking care, but it does sound like it was a very traumatic experience. The other 4 individuals were unhoused, and Oglala Sioux tribe, I believe, is working to locate their 4 tribal members, and so more news is unfolding, and more information is needed for sure.
Sure. Okay. We'll hopefully get some more of those details here as the days continue. So can we just kind of step back for a minute and just kind of speak to those who may not understand the structure and the way things kind of work? It can be very complicated when it comes to things like treaties. Can you explain a little bit for those who may not understand the treaty? It's in place. What does it affirm for tribal communities?
Sure. Simply put, Native Americans, American Indians, tribal communities, Native Americans are United States citizens. We are sovereign citizens to these lands, what is currently present-day United States of America. So we have been original citizens of these lands since time immemorial. And so essentially, in terms of explaining a trust and treaty responsibility of the United States federal government, the United States federal government has a trust and treaty obligation and responsibility to American Indians and Alaska Native people. And these inherent rights include being able to exercise our sovereignty, which means that we are able to be citizens, dual citizens, with the United States and with our respective tribal nation. And so those trust and treaty obligations came to fruition as a result of the signed peace agreements in order to live in harmony on this land together. And so more to come there, lots to unpack, but in this short time frame, Native Americans, we are the original of these lands, and the rhetoric from long ago stands pretty strong today, hence the reason why there's so much misinformation and not enough information of the unique political relationship that American Indians are born into with the United States federal government.
So have you had any conversations, with others about, so why are Native Americans who are citizens of the United States being detained by federal officials?
Yes, I myself, my family, my children, we are members of a federally recognized tribe. And so we do live, off of the reservation, and I would say at least 55%, if not more, live off the reservations in urban areas. And really, it's unfortunate, but oftentimes, it's just a matter of profiling, really. DHS has been directly terrorizing the communities here in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and unfortunately, it's been Black and brown communities. So there has been a very high rate of racial profiling, and so simply for the color of your skin, or it's just ridiculous because it's being based off of how you look. And many of our tribal citizens, tribal members, our tribal IDs are being disregarded. People are being harassed in broad daylight at a stoplight, minding their own business. And recently we've witnessed unsheltered Native men being harassed by ICE federal agents who are just sitting on the street. So it's very alarming and very unfortunate that this sort of aggressive harassment, terroristic treatment is taking place upon our most vulnerable individuals.
In just a minute here, we're going to put up the resource. We talked about it yesterday on our newscast when we saw there's sort of, they're calling it almost like pop-up ID opportunities for people to go and get free ID, waiving any kind of fees like that. So we'll put that up in a minute. But I wanted to also just, ask, so if there's a member of the community who, how are you preparing them? What is the message to them if they were to go out and about? What should they have with them? Are there things that they should say? What's the message?
To make sure you have your tribal ID on you, have copies, because even those who are presenting tribal IDs to federal ICE agents, they're still being met with great resistance and disregard. So definitely keep copies of your birth certificate, your tribal ID, whether it's the plastic card or paper, and make sure you write on your arm the Native American Rights Fund, their contact information should you be wrongfully detained. You do have a right to reach out and seek protection. And so that number is, one second.
It's okay. And you said it's a Native American Rights Fund. Is that what you said?
Yes, and the number is 303-447-8760. We're encouraging all of our tribal membership and descendants, to write 303-447-8760 on their arm. But we also encourage everyone to contact your tribal enrollment office to make sure your information is updated. There's over 155 tribal nation citizens that live in the Twin Cities metro area, and we want everybody to be safe and to know their rights, and please remain peaceful and prayerful as we prepare for things that are to come here.
Okay, Ruth, as long as we have you, Amber, I don't know if we can put up do we have a list of those resources? And if we don't, there we go. So this is something that we pulled that we wanted to just share with folks because it's happening, some of it is happening today as well, but these are just some of the different areas, and we'll have this on our website as well. I know we did a story yesterday too for folks who wanted to, if they don't have their ID on them or they want to have an extra one, or these are events where folks can stop and grab those without paying any sort of fees or anything like that. And again, I know it's a lot of information on there. We'll have it on our website. Ruth, is there, I know we're still kind of, early-ish on in this situation. I'm wondering if there are ways for tribal members or the tribes themselves to fight this. We see that there are that the federal government has certain protections, and then as U.S. citizens, we have certain rights and protections as well. I'm not as familiar with how it works with the tribe and the federal government. I mean, are there ways to raise your hand and say this is happening, this has to stop, or what's happening within the tribal communities?
We have definitely seen an increase of mobilization, with the list of tribal enrollment pop-up stations here in the metro area, whether it's in, tribal nations located here in Minnesota or tribes located out of state. Definitely seen more statements come out from tribal nations in the area. For example, numerous tribal nations out of South Dakota that have issued statements in support of their tribal membership. We know that Oglala Sioux Tribe has released a statement and sent letters directly to Department of Interior And to Kristi Noem, we know that Kristi Noem has had a very contentious relationship with tribal nations in South Dakota. And it's just unfortunate that there are 4 Native men, Oglala men, tribal members, who were wrongfully detained by ICE. And many believe that they were housed at Fort Snelling, which has some really historic, bad, historic trauma there as well. And so we just have to do better as a country, as a nation, and we can't continue to repeat past harms and past mistakes. And so we ask, if there is room for a pause, to please pause, cease fire, because innocent people continue to be harmed, and we don't want any further fatalities. We need to prevent further tragedies from happening.
Ruth Buffalo, thank you so much for your time today. Hearing from the Native American community on what they're seeing on the ground as well. We appreciate it.